Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney. Today is Monday, December 28th. Thanks for choosing to be here to get filled in on the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And unfortunately, we have to start out by saying that today is not a victory Monday. The Cleveland Browns lost yesterday to the New York Jets because of a lot of reasons, not in the least the fact that every single starting wide receiver was out due to COVID-19 protocol. So the Browns did end up losing 23-16 to the New York Jets. But there is a silver lining. True, nothing that we needed to happen this weekend happened in order for the Browns to clinch a playoff spot, but the Browns still could clinch a playoff spot. And as of right now, their fate is completely in their hands because if the Browns beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, they will clinch a playoff spot. They will get one of the 3 AFC wildcard spots and will go on to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. More good news. Even if the Browns don't beat the Steelers, there are still ways that the Browns could clinch a playoff spot. And our 3 News sports analyst, Ben Axelrod, walks us through all of those on WKYC.com. There are several different ways it could happen, so I'll let you check out the article to get filled in on that. Now, Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski has said that the wide receivers who were out this weekend because of COVID protocol could rejoin the team as soon as Thursday if they continue to test negative for COVID-19. Stefanski did confirm that none of them have yet tested positive for COVID-19, but that they were placed on the COVID reserve list because of close contact with another player who did test positive. And those people are wide receivers Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and Kaderil Hodge. Also, linebacker Jacob Phillips. So we will know on New Year's Eve, possibly, whether those players will be activated to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Week 17 final game of the regular season for the Cleveland Browns. So we will be watching that very closely. And that would certainly be a great way to start 2021. But before we start 2021, we've got a few more days left of 2020, and we need to take a look back at that. So in my podcast this week, 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney, we do just that. It's a 2020 year in review, and I am joined by our main anchor, Russ Mitchell, our weekend anchor and reporter, Romney Smith, and our investigative reporter, Mark Namick, to take a look back at the year that was. We talk about everything from pop culture, the pandemic, of course, politics, social justice, and sports. And it's a 2-part episode, so you can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. Just search for 3 Things to Know with Stephanie Haney to check that out. It's also up on YouTube, and all of that is linked on WKYC.com. So more big news out of this weekend. President Donald Trump signed that $900 billion pandemic relief package on Sunday, and that includes $1.4 trillion to fund the government through September. So this is not just a COVID relief package. This is a combined COVID relief package and spending package. So President Trump said over the weekend in a statement that he will sign the omnibus and COVID package with a strong message that makes clear to Congress that wasteful items need to be removed. So what does that mean since he signed it? Well, since he signed it, it becomes law. But what happens then is the president can send back a redlined version with items that he would prefer to be removed in the rescission process. But those are just suggestions to Congress. The bill as signed does not necessarily get changed. So, assuming things move forward with the $600 stimulus checks, why wouldn't they move forward? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. But assuming that they do, most Americans, people who make up to $75,000 per year, will get a $600 check. Couples will get a $1,200 check, and payments will be phased out for those higher incomes with $600 additional money per dependent child. And the relief bill says that the Treasury Department has until January 15th to get those payments to Americans. And if the payments can't be direct deposited or mailed by then, Americans will have to wait until they file their 2020 tax return in 2021, in those months coming up, in tax season coming up in a couple months, in order to get this stimulus payment. Now, why wouldn't that happen? Well, the House is taking up the issue of those $2,000 checks that President Donald Trump had demanded. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she would bring it up for a vote. She would bring the Congress back to session, the House back to session, to vote on increasing those payments from $600 to $2,000. Now, when President Trump made this demand after the bill had majority support on both sides of the aisle, Democrats were on board, but Republicans were not. So Pelosi urged the president to sign the bill and then said that they would bring up a separate issue to increase the payments from $600 to $2,000. So the House will vote on that today. Now, from there, it would have to pass the Senate. And Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer, who is in the minority in the Senate, said that he would offer that proposal for a vote in the Senate, and then Republicans would be put on the spot about whether or not they would support that. Schumer tweeted that the House will pass the bill to give Americans $2,000 checks, and then he'll move to pass it in the Senate. No Democrats will object. Will Senate Republicans object? And that's what remained to be seen. Senate Republican leadership did say when President Donald Trump called for those $2,000 checks that they were not on board with the increased amount of money. So we'll have to see what happens there after the House presumably passes that bill, because the House is in control of the Democrats right now. But at the very least, looks like Americans getting those $600 checks. And if you signed up for direct deposit, they had previously said that could be within a matter of days, because the Treasury Department had already done all that work from the first round of stimulus checks to get those systems in place. Now, speaking of the reason that we're talking about all of this, COVID-19, let's talk about the latest numbers here in Ohio, new from the Ohio Department of Health. Now, remember, we are just coming off a holiday weekend. Typically on a Monday, these numbers are deceptively low because of the fact that less agencies report over the weekend, less labs report over the weekend. So we're now coming off a holiday weekend, so these numbers could be extra deceptively low. But these are the numbers that we have today from the Ohio Department of Health. The total number of new reported cases is 4,519. We have not seen the number that low in a very long time. So again, I caution as we report these numbers, they could be deceptively low. And over the last 24 hours, 62 more people have been reported to have died related to COVID-19. We take a look at the positivity rate for the amount of COVID tests being done. Well, the latest data that we have comes from Saturday, and that positive rate was 12.9% of COVID tests coming back positive, and the 7-day average as of Saturday was 13% for COVID-19 cases coming back positive. In the last 24 hours, we've seen 290 new hospitalizations, bringing the total number of people who are in the hospital right now with COVID to 4,511. And of those 4,511 people, 1,108 of them are being treated in the intensive care unit. We've seen 30 new ICU admissions in the last 24 hours, and about 1/3 of our state's hospital beds are available for people who need inpatient treatment for anything, whether that's COVID-19 or anything else. Now let's take a look at the national and the global COVID-19 numbers. These come from Johns Hopkins University. The last time we talked, which was on Christmas Eve, the total number of U.S. cases was at about 18.5 million. Well, today it's at 19,191,583. And the total number of deaths in the U.S. is now at 333,836. We are seeing the percentage of cases and the percentage of deaths tick up slightly here in the U.S. as compared to the global numbers. We've got about 4% of the of the global population here in the U.S. We've got 23.7% of the global cases, though, and 18.9% of the global deaths. Globally, the total number of COVID-19 cases that have been reported is now at 81,072,988. And the total number of deaths that have been reported is 1,769,930. Now, over the past week, you may have heard about a variant of COVID-19 that was found in the United Kingdom. Cases had been seen in Japan, and it seems to be more contagious. Well, our leading infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said that it is being looked at very closely here in the U.S., that variant that is said to spread more easily than the COVID-19 we've been seeing so far. Health officials say that it doesn't seem that this variant is likely to cause people to become more ill or that it's likely to be any more resistant to vaccines, but it does need to be taken very seriously. Dr. Fauci said that he was endorsing the decision of U.S. officials to require negative COVID-19 tests before letting people from Britain enter the U.S. He did not mention or he did not comment on whether he thought that step should have been taken sooner, but he does say that this strain is something that we need to follow very carefully, and we're looking at it very intensely now. Over the weekend, he said, Does it make someone more ill? And the answer is it doesn't appear that way. Dr. Fauci also said that British officials are telling the U.S. colleagues that it appears that the vaccines that have been rolling out are strong enough to deal with the new variant. But Dr. Fauci said, we're going to do the studies ourselves here in the U.S. So again, that's being looked at very carefully here in the U.S. We'll keep you up to date as soon as we have more information on anything we know about that variant of the coronavirus. Now, it's just a couple of weeks now until President-elect Joe Biden is inaugurated on January 20th, and he has said, or people in his advisory group have said, that Joe Biden will be invoking the Defense Production Act to boost vaccine production. The Defense Production Act is something that we talked about earlier in the pandemic when it came to getting ventilators where they needed to be and also other personal protective equipment. Well, what this act does is it allows the president to require businesses to prioritize the production needs of the federal government for national security purposes. So, Dr. Celine Gounder, who is a member of Biden's COVID-19 advisory board, told CNBC that the idea here is to make sure that personal protective equipment, testing capacity, and the raw materials for the vaccines are produced in adequate supply so that we can get as many of those vaccines here in the U.S. out to the people who want to be vaccinated. And the experts have said that they do expect this will take time for the vaccines to get to all the people that want to be vaccinated. It'll be months before that can happen. But here in the U.S., just as a reminder, the two vaccines that have been given emergency use authorization from the FDA come from Pfizer and Moderna. One more thing to let you know before we go. If you are a winter weather enthusiast, there's good news for you. Alpine Valley Ski Resort in Chesterland, Ohio is officially open as of today, and it opened to a sold-out crowd, by the way. So it's open for the 2020-2021 season. This is the first ski resort in the area to open because Boston Mills and Brandywine ski areas are not open at this time. And if you call their reservation line, there's a recording that says that they are postponing their opening until further notice. They will let people know. But Alpine Valley is open and reservations are required. And if you are going to go to Alpine Valley, face masks will be required and other social distancing measures are in place. The hours are noon to 9 p.m. And again, I think I've said this 2 or 3 times already, but reservations are required. They were absolutely sold out today for opening day, and you can find more information on that on WKYC.com and our WKYC app. That's it for your 3 News Now update for today, Monday, December 28th, with just a couple of days left in this year. I will see you next up on What's New with your trending stories in the Clicking in Cleveland segment, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for more 3 News Now. Everyone stay safe and be well. I'm Stephanie Haney.